Labor have been ideological, completely ideological in their approach to this. Practically, we're not going to see nuclear power plants in Australia for 10 or 20 years because there are two things that need to happen. Those plants would need to be economic, the economics would need to stack up, and you would also need a broad community agreement. So it's a way off, but I don't think that we should be driven by ideology when we're talking about nuclear power.
Well, I don't think it's necessarily about being driven by ideologies. It is just by being driven about the sense of the argument. And
shouldn't we just have the debate, though? We're not even allowed to have the debate.
Well, I think the debate's been had. I just think that the point is... let me make this clear. Nuclear energy is not on the agenda of this government. That's clear. That comes after a long debate, I think, which has gone on in this country over decades. And the outcome of that debate is that it's hard to see how it stacks up against all the renewable, rich sources of energy that we have in this country. And when we've got those, geothermal, solar, wind, we're rich in all of those sources. It doesn't make sense to walk down the nuclear path. But the other point I'd just make in terms, I suppose, not an insignificant point in terms of what Mitch has said, nuclear energy is not carbon neutral. I mean, there are emissions involved in digging this up out of the ground, and so it does make its contribution in that way.
It's as minimal as you can get.
Well, no, it's not. That isn't right.
Solar panels are also... Yeah. You've also got to make solar panels.
Sure, but solar panels, solar energy, wind, tidal, geothermal, all much cleaner and much more CO2 friendly.
Just briefly before...
But you can't provide baseload power with those. Well, substantial baseload power.
Well, let's see how the science develops in relation to all of that.
Can I get a brief word from you both before we go? Mitch Fifield first. Rob Oakeshot's pushed to become Speaker. What do you make of that and the complications it throws up?
Look, Rob's a good guy. If he does put his name forward, we'll consider that along with anyone else who puts their name forward. The complication is this issue of pairing. Section 40 of the Constitution makes it clear that questions in the House should be determined by a majority of members, and it specifically says, not including the Speaker. The Speaker's role is reserved to be a tiebreaker, and it's hard to pair someone who doesn't have a vote, and it's even harder to pair someone whose job is meant to be to break a tied vote.
Richard? Yeah, look, I think Rob Oakeshott is a good person and it makes a good candidate for the job. But we're in an unusual situation, and his candidature is unusual, and we're seeking legal advice on that. And I think we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves before getting that advice back.
Well, one of the great things about being an independent is that both sides get to agree that you're a great guy, and unfortunately we're going to have to leave it there. And hopefully we'll see both of you guys again in the future. Senator Mitch Fifield, thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
And Richard Marles, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Mitch.
Well, now we'll go to the sports.